If you're an introvert trying to build authority on LinkedIn, you've probably been told that you need to network constantly, engage with everyone, attend virtual events, and basically always be on. And if you're like most introverts, that advice makes you feel basically exhausted just thinking about it because it's just not really how you operate. And you find that you recharge a bit more through solitude or deep one-to-one conversations versus large group interactions. And you'd rather think before you speak than jump into every single conversation. Now, here's the truth. You don't need to become an extrovert to actually succeed on LinkedIn. In fact, LinkedIn is one of the best platforms for introverts because it plays into your natural strengths: thoughtful writing, deep expertise, strategic thinking, and meaningful one-to-one connections. So you don't necessarily need to attend networking events and constantly be social, and you don't need to drain your energy trying to be someone that you're not. So over the course of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to build authority on LinkedIn as an introvert. I'm going to walk you through 3 energy efficient strategies that leverage your natural strengths and allow you to build visibility, credibility, and client relationships without the exhaustion. And it's the exact same approach that I've been able to leverage to build a presence with over 55,000 followers and 10 million impressions over the course of the last year. And so this absolutely works. And I want to dive in to, first of all, the core problem so we can walk you through a way to get to a better place. Now, in some ways, some people might see LinkedIn as being designed for extroverts because of the networking aspect and recording videos and things of that nature and sending tons of connection requests and just always being on. But if you're an introvert, that advice might feel a bit exhausting. So here's why extroverted strategies don't necessarily work for introverts. It's mainly because it can be draining on your energy, and you find that you actually get more charged when you're able to do that deep focus work, when you're basically it's you, your laptop, and you can really focus. And so you don't need to feel that you have a disadvantage being on LinkedIn because you're not outgoing enough, or you don't have the energy for it. You actually have some big advantages on LinkedIn. You just need to use those strategies to play to your strength. So introverts are actually naturally good at things that matter most on LinkedIn, right? Because you're probably a thoughtful writer. You can go deep on topics without staying surface level, and you prefer quality over quantity. And that's going to allow you to build meaningful relationships versus collecting random connections and conversations. So with all of that said, let's walk you through some of the strategies that you can actually implement here. The first one is to leverage written content over live interaction. And here's what I mean by that. As an introvert, your strength is thoughtful, well-crafted writing. You think before you speak, you process internally, and that makes you a natural at creating high-quality written content. So here's the introvert advantage. On LinkedIn, written content is king. You don't necessarily need to attend networking events or do live videos, and you don't need to be constantly social. You can build authority entirely through written posts, and because you're naturally thoughtful and deliberate, your content will be higher quality than many others on the platform if you just focus on your core strengths. I can be quite extroverted, which is why I personally do quite a lot of video content, but for several years, when I built my brand overall on LinkedIn, the mass majority of it was all done through written posts. Video became much more of a thing for me recently. And so here's the strategy that you can particularly leverage and utilize. First of all, focus on 3 high quality posts each week. You don't need to post every day. You just need to create content constantly. 3 well-crafted posts per week is enough for you to actually build authority, especially if each post delivers real value. So you can use this framework to get you going. On Monday, do a tactical post, teach something actionable. On Wednesday, do a story post, so share a lesson learned or a client transformation. On Friday, do a perspective post, right? So share some kind of contrarian take or some form of mindset shift. And then batch create this content. So set aside 1 to 2 hours each week to write all 3 posts. This will allow you to work in deep focus mode, which is where a lot of introverts basically thrive, because you're not scrambling then to create content every single day. Instead, you're batching it, scheduling it, and then you can move on. And make sure you write in your natural tone. Don't try and necessarily be overly enthusiastic, salesy, or extroverted in your writing. Write the way that you think. So just be thoughtful, be deliberate, be clear. It's that authenticity that's actually going to make your content resonate. Now, here's the key. Written content actually allows you to control your energy because you basically create it in your own time, in your own space, and without the pressure of some kind of live interaction. And because you're naturally good at thoughtful writing, your content will then stand out. So here's what that can look like in practice. Let's just say you're an introverted consultant, you're attending a virtual networking event, which would drain your energy. Instead, you spend 90 minutes on Sunday writing your 3 posts for the week, and then schedule them in advance. And then throughout the week, you show up consistently without the daily energy drain of content creation. And that can be one of your advantages, right? Use your strength, which is thoughtful writing, and then you can build authority without the risk of burning out. Now, the second step is to use strategic selective engagement. And here's what I mean by that. As an introvert, you don't have the energy necessarily to comment on tons and tons and tons of posts every single day. You don't necessarily need to, right? Quality again beats quantity. So being strategic, thoughtful with your engagement and just finding a few key posts is more effective than generic comments on hundreds of posts. So think about, instead of just leaving like generic comments like great posts or thanks for sharing, you actually read the post, think about it, and then think about how you can add value, because that's what LinkedIn will reward. So here's the strategy you can leverage, right? Engage 10 to 15 minutes per day, but be selective. You don't need to engage for hours. You just need to be strategic about where and how you engage. So focus on these 3 types of posts, right? First of all is posts from your ideal client. So find 2 to 3 posts per day from people who actually fit your ideal client profile, and then leave a thoughtful value adding comment that gets you on their radar without the energy drain of mass engagement. The second type is posts from recognized authorities in your niche. So find 1 to 2 posts per day from thought leaders or influencers in your space, and then leave insightful comments that demonstrate your expertise. This will then get you in front of their audience, which could be thousands of your ideal clients. The third step is comment on your own post. So spend 5 minutes per day responding to every comment on your own post. That way you can deepen the conversation, ask follow-up questions, and build relationships more one-to-one. You want to make sure that you make your comments actually valuable, right? So again, avoid the generic praise, add a layer of insight, actually share some kind of relevant example or ask a thoughtful question. Your comment should demonstrate your expertise and make people want to connect with you. So here's the key here, is strategic engagement actually allows you to build visibility and relationships without the energy drain of constant socializing, because you're not trying to be everywhere, you're trying to be intentional about where and how you show up. So in practice, instead of commenting or trying to comment on 50 posts per day, which could just be quite draining for you, spend 10 minutes finding 3 to 4 high value posts and leaving thoughtful comments there. And then spend another 5 minutes responding to comments on your own post. That's it, 15 minutes a day. And that way you're building meaningful connections without the risk of burning out, right? Now, the third step is to build deep one-on-one relationships. And here's what I mean. As an introvert, you're not necessarily energized by large group interactions and what feels like superficial networking, but you do find you thrive in one-to-one conversations, more deep, meaningful relationships. And that's exactly what converts prospects into clients on LinkedIn. So here's how you can leverage this to your benefit, because you don't need thousands of random connections. What you do need is a smaller network of high quality, meaningful relationships. Because you're naturally good at deep conversations, you'll be better at building trust and then converting connections into clients. So here, the first step really is to focus on building 10 to 20 meaningful relationships each month. So don't necessarily try to connect with hundreds of people. Focus on 10 to 20 each month who actually fit your ideal client profile. Send personalized connection requests, engage with their content, build genuine relationships, and then use value first DMs. So when you reach out via a DM, don't pitch, don't be salesy, just be helpful. Reference something specific about their content or their profile and ask a thoughtful question, offer some value. So an example could be, hey, name, I noticed you've been posting about a specific topic. I've been working with niche on this exact challenge and have seen some interesting patterns. I'm curious, what's been your biggest obstacle with specific problem? Happy to share what's been working if it's helpful. So you can see you're just having deeper conversations, and then when someone responds positively, don't rush to pitch your services, have a real conversation. Ask follow-up questions, share insights, build trust, and when the time is right, then invite them to a call. So for example, you could then say, this has been a great conversation. If it's helpful, I'd be happy to jump on a quick call and walk you through a few strategies that have worked for niche in your situation. Here's a link to grab 15 minutes, and then you put your calendar link. Now, here's the key. One-on-one relationships allow you to leverage your natural strengths, because you're not trying to network with hundreds of people. You're just building deep, meaningful connections with a few key select people. And these relationships can more easily convert into clients, right? And so with all of that said, let's put all of this together, right? The first step is to leverage written content over live interaction. So you want to post 3 high quality posts each week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. batch your content into 1 to 2 hour blocks, and then write in your natural, thoughtful voice. The second step is to use strategic selective engagement. So engage for 10 to 15 minutes a day, but be selective and focus on posts from your ideal clients, authorities, and your own posts, and leave thoughtful, value adding comments. The third step is to build deep, meaningful one-on-one relationships. To focus on 10 to 20 meaningful relationships each month, use value first DMs without pitching, and then have a deeper conversation with those people that actually builds trust, right? And so if you were to look at this as a breakdown for yourself, if you were an introverted financial advisor, let's say, Monday morning, you're going to spend 90 minutes writing your 3 posts for the week, and then you schedule them in advance. Then each day for 10 to 15 minutes, you'll find your 3 to 4 high value posts from your ideal clients or authorities, and then you leave thoughtful comments and then respond to all of the comments on your own posts. Then each week you'll send 5 personalized connection requests to people who fit your ideal client profile. You engage with their content, and then you can reach out via direct message with a value first post. And then at a monthly basis, you'd have built 10 to 20 meaningful relationships. You'd have had 3 to 5 discovery calls, and then hopefully closed at least 1 to 2 clients, right? And so this is the way you can leverage your natural strengths by thoughtful writing, quality engagement, and deep relationships, while also building authority without draining your energy. Now, before we wrap up, I do want to highlight why introverts actually can have an advantage on LinkedIn when most people think it's only extroverts that would have the advantage. The first is that you can argue you're a better writer, right? You really think before you speak, you process internally, and that makes you a natural, thoughtful, deliberate writer. On LinkedIn, where written content can be king and has been for a long time, that's a huge advantage because you can have potentially more insightful, more valuable, and more engaging posts versus surface level content, which a lot of people create. The next thing is that you probably focus more on quality over quantity, right? Extroverts sometimes can try and connect with everyone and engage with everything, but that approach can sometimes lead to more shallow relationships and generic content, right? Whereas you have more of a focus on quality over quantity, fewer connections but deeper relationships, fewer posts but higher value, and that's exactly what LinkedIn rewards. You also build more trust, right? Because you excel at one-to-one conversations, you listen more than you talk, you ask thoughtful questions, and that way you build genuine relationships. And on LinkedIn, where trust is the foundation of client relationships, that's a massive advantage. And so your ideal clients don't necessarily want to be sold to, they want to be understood. And introverts can be naturally very good at that. So here's the key. You don't need to change who you are to succeed on LinkedIn. You just need to use strategies that play to your natural strengths. And when you do, you'll build authority faster and more sustainably than anyone else. Now, once you've done that, you're going to find that you'd have built more authority without the risk of burning out because you're using strategies that work with your energy and not against it. You'll find that your content's going to stand out because you're more naturally thoughtful and deliberate with higher quality posts. And this will then also help you to attract premium clients because you're building deep, meaningful relationships versus just collecting random connections. And it's the same general thought process that I've had to build my brand to over 55,000 followers, 10 million impressions last year. And we've driven over 100 million impressions for our clients last year alone, including one of our clients who generated over 4,000 relevant new followers in just 30 days. So we know that these frameworks absolutely work as long as you commit to the strategies. But if you are someone who's looking to really accelerate your results, especially if you're an introvert or even if you're an extrovert, you just want a faster time to result, what you can benefit from is a LinkedIn media engine, a completely done for you system that takes away the content creation, the strategic engagement, the relationship building, takes it off all of your hands so you can focus on better uses of your time. We can certainly send you over more information about how this full LinkedIn media engine would actually work. So all I need you to do is drop a comment with the word introvert below. We'll send this breakdown over to you completely free so you can see what it would look like to have a full media engine behind your brand to ramp up the volume of followers, impressions, engagement, take all of that off your hands to enable you to accelerate your journey much faster. So again, comment the word introvert below. I'll get that sent over to you. I hope you found the video helpful, useful, and insightful, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.